And so why are we all here today? Well, it's National Apprenticeship Week. So happy National Apprenticeship Week to everyone. This year, November 15th through the 21st of 2021. This is one of hundreds of events that are happening across the country to celebrate and recognize the power of apprenticeship. We are really glad that you've decided to join us here today. If you would like to see any of the other events happening this week, you can head to apprenticeship.gov and you'll be able to see a listing of all of the events happening nationally, both virtually and in person. And in case you are unfamiliar with today's host organization, ApprenticeshipPHL is a regional public-private collaborative with the overall goal of increasing and aligning registered apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship programs for the benefit of our area's residents and employers. We are 20 plus members strong. So here you see the list of logos of those member organizations. We have workforce development boards, businesses, education and training providers, government agencies, and nonprofits, all driving apprenticeship forward in our region. And we really work in sort of 5 buckets. One of them are our outreach, education, and awareness space. So we hold events like this to raise apprenticeship awareness and share successes of apprenticeship programs in the region. We provide technical assistance during the apprenticeship registration process in partnership with the PA Apprenticeship and Training Office, but we also provide technical assistance with other aspects of apprenticeship growth and expansion. We help to pursue funding opportunities to support apprenticeship in the region, and we're really strong advocates of fostering regional partnerships and connections. So we will build connections between businesses, educational providers, supportive services, really wherever the right relationship might be, we can help to make that introduction. And you'll see my contact information at the end of today's webinar when we close out, if you would like to be in touch with me about any of these pieces that we work on. And so today we are all here to talk about centering diversity, equity, and inclusion in apprenticeship. This is our way of celebrating National Apprenticeship Week. If you've joined us at any of our previous ApprenticeshipPHL events, you know that we strive to make equity and access a focal point of all apprenticeship programs. So today we would like to share with you some tangible examples and resources of how to really put DEI at the center of your apprenticeship program, whether you are just starting out and thinking about building an apprenticeship, or you have an existing program where you would like to further integrate DEI into that space. And so just to provide an outline of our agenda this afternoon, you'll first hear from Dr. Christy Schuda-McGuire, the Dean of Biomedical Studies at the Wistar Institute. So Wistar is our local apprenticeship highlight today, and she'll discuss their biomedical technician pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship program and discuss how their program model has enabled new access points into the life sciences industry for those underrepresented in the industry and in apprenticeship. And then we'll also hear from the new director of JFF's new Registered Apprenticeship Technical Assistance Center of Excellence for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility. I think they're going to come up with a shorter title. Joshua Johnson. And Josh recently joined JFF to lead this new center, and we look forward to learning about the tools and resources that JFF has already put out and its future plans with this new center that are all aimed at helping you increase diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in your apprenticeship program. And then finally, I'm really proud to announce that ApprenticeshipPHL has an updated website. So ApprenticeshipPHL first launched during National Apprenticeship Week in 2018, but a lot has changed in that time. So at the end of our presentations, I will take you on a very brief tour of the new site to show you some of the updated features and resources for those looking to build, connect, and learn about apprenticeships in Southeast PA. So without further ado, I will stop sharing my screen and I will turn it over to Christy to begin our local apprenticeship highlight.
Thanks, Cassandra. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Can everybody see our Wistar Institute here?
Yeah.
Okay, and these are actually 2 of my former students who went through our biomedical technician training program, which I'll be talking about. So for those of you that don't know, the Wistar Institute is our nation's first independent biomedical research institute, named for Dr. Caspar Wistar, who was a physician, scientist, and teacher at the University of Pennsylvania. Wistar actually sits on the University of Pennsylvania campus, but we are independent. So it was Dr. Caspar Wistar's great nephew, Sir Isaac Jones Wistar, who founded the Wistar Institute for housing his great uncle's collection of teaching models, but also for the initiation of original scientific knowledge, so for biomedical research. There is a great YouTube video that I can put the link to after I finish while Joshua is giving his talk for anybody that would like to learn more about the history of the Wistar Institute. And then we also have a pretty cool interactive timeline on our website. So today, Wistar is a world leader in biomedical research. We have 33 labs that are each headed by principal investigators or PIs. We became a National Cancer Institute or NCI designated cancer center in 1972 and have held that distinction continuously ever since. We also have a history of developing vaccines. So we have a vaccine and immunotherapy center, or VIC as we call it. And then we have excellent core facilities, or what we call shared resources, that are not only used by researchers at the Wistar Institute, but at neighboring colleges, universities, and biotechnology and pharmaceutical companies. So our education and training programs, we have had a summer fellowship program for high school students since 1994. We also do community engagement to bring high school students and undergraduate students to the Wistar Institute. The highlight of our programs for undergraduate students are our biomedical technician training program, which I'll be talking more about. We've also started a life science innovation course with LaSalle University and have a new program with Cheney University. Both our programs, our biomedical technician training program with Community College of Philadelphia and our new program with Cheney University serve as pre-apprenticeships for our biomedical research technician apprenticeship. For graduate students, we teach two courses, cancer biology and vaccine and immune therapy. We also have graduate students, master's students from Drexel University and PhD students from the University of Pennsylvania who come to the Wistar Institute to complete thesis research projects. And then we have a PhD program in cancer biology in partnership with University of the Sciences, and a new program with the University of Bologna, which is the world's first university in Bologna, Italy. Our largest group of trainees at the Wistar Institute are our postdoctoral fellows who come to Wistar for excellent scientific training as they carve out their own niche in scientific research. So for today's presentation, I'll really be focusing on some of our more recent community outreach efforts, as well as these programs for undergraduate students, highlighting our pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship program. During the pandemic, like many people, we had to go virtual. So in order to allow people to still interact with the Wistar Institute and to also expand our reach beyond those who can come to the Institute, even when we are not in a pandemic, we have developed some virtual tours. And again, I can put the link to these in the chat after my presentation. But we have, designed these to be interactive and also included scientists of diverse backgrounds and also different levels in their scientific careers. We also have a new dedicated training lab that's available year-round. So we use this for our undergraduate programs and also hope as the pandemic comes to an end that we can do more education outreach in this space as well. So our biomedical technician training program has been a partnership with the Community College of Philadelphia since 2000. Community College of Philadelphia provides the educational foundation, and the Wistar Institute, along with affiliated universities, research institutes, and area biotechnology companies, provide the practical laboratory training and experiences for the students. So in the interest of time, I don't think I'm going to show this video because there's another video that I'd rather highlight of a recent apprentice who completed his apprenticeship during the pandemic at the Wistar Institute. Over the last 20 years, our biomedical technician training program has had great outcomes. So 78% of the students who started completed the program, including 50% from underrepresented backgrounds and almost 70% women. Of those who complete the program, we track them for the first year and then sometimes beyond, but more systematically, this is the data from our first year outcomes. So after completing the program, 64% continue their education, and then we know later go on to earn higher degrees. And 46% of our graduates obtained laboratory positions within a year. And you'll notice the 64 and 46% add up to greater than 100%. And that's the best possible outcome, we think, for the program when graduates can obtain a position in the field that they want to pursue while continuing their education. So we've had great support from the state of Pennsylvania, specifically through their PA Smart grant program in the Department of Labor and Industry. But as you all know, we ran the program for one way from 2000 to 2019, and then in 2020 needed to make a switch. Because of the pandemic, we were not able to start a new cohort of our program in 2020. But we applied for a grant from GSK's Philadelphia STEM Equity Collective, which is a 10-year initiative to increase the number of Black, Latinx, and women going into STEM careers in Philadelphia. And so they provided us with a grant to accelerate the program. So those students who we had recruited and selected for our 2020 cohort, but weren't able to start the program, we still wanted to keep our promise that those students would be able to complete the program by August 2021. So we restructured the program as an accelerated one summer program. In 2021, participants did a 2-week hands-on lab orientation, followed by 2 6-week lab experiences. And importantly, we made sure that one of these was in an academic lab and one of them was in an industry lab. So here's our class of 2020. I am really proud to say that we had 100% completion rate, so even better than our historical outcomes. And we have 100% working in laboratories and are continuing their education. So again, even exceeding our historical outcomes. 11 out of our 12 students who completed the program in August of 2021 are continuing their education. The other one is working full-time and has continued into our BRT apprenticeship program. And we have 5 of the 12 that are not only continuing their education, but they're working part-time, either at the Wistar Institute or one of the other lab experiences that they had as part of our pre-apprenticeship program. We also have had some great outcomes when we look at other measures, including how laboratory mentors evaluated the students and how students rated the program in terms of confirming their field of interest, what they want to pursue, preparing them for advanced coursework, graduate school, and most importantly here in purple, the number of participants who agree or strongly agree that the program prepared them for a job. So with this success from the accelerated biomedical technician training program, we were able to secure funding from the National Science Foundation Advanced Technological Education Program for Exceed BTT. Over the next 3 years, we will be expanding both the number of participating community colleges and the number of participating students. So we're going from a cohort of 12 this summer up to 21 students by the summer of 2024. And we'll also have a wider regional reach to cover southeastern Pennsylvania and even into Camden County, New Jersey. We've redesigned our hands-on curriculum that's used in our biomedical technician training program orientation. We've taken advantage of research being performed in the lab of Dr. Maureen Murphy at the Wistar Institute. Dr. Murphy looks at a tumor suppressor gene tumor suppressor P53, which is actually the most widely mutated gene in human cancer. And what we have students do is find treatments that are going to be more effective against individuals with an African-centric variation of the TP53 gene. And so through this discovery-based research, they're able to learn a lot of the laboratory skills that are in demand in both academic and industry research labs. So focusing a little bit as students complete that biomedical technician training pre-apprenticeship program, they can move on into our biomedical research technician apprenticeship. And this was the first ever registered non-traditional program in biomedical research. It was registered just in 2017, and it offers an additional 10 months of specialized on-the-job training with salary support to incentivize employers to hire our graduates of our pre-apprenticeship. So again, together, the biomedical technician training pre-apprenticeship and the BRT apprenticeship are providing participants with 2,000 hours of on-the-job training and at least 144 hours of related technical instruction. We were awarded the Outstanding Non-Traditional Apprenticeship Program from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in 2019. And as I showed you, we have that one student who just finished the pre-apprenticeship program go right into the apprenticeship. We also had another student who completed the pre-apprenticeship program in 2019, but continued her education, just come back. So we currently have two apprentices in our program. I'd like to stop sharing for a second and switch to show you this video about our biomedical research technician apprentice who has most recently completed the program. And his name is Yaya Dia.
As the biomedical research industry grows rapidly in Philadelphia.
I'm going to switch this real quick. Sorry about that. This is the one I want to see.
Who finds himself on the front lines of the battle to develop a coronavirus vaccine. His presence there is a testament to his smarts and his drive. He has come a long way. Community journalist Ashley Johnson tells the story.
Inside this lab at the prestigious Wistar Institute in Philadelphia, Yaya Dia, an immigrant from West Africa, is working tirelessly to create a vaccination for COVID-19.
It was a privilege working with, top scientists within the Weiner lab, and especially being there and being able to contribute.
While his drive to help others during such a critical time speaks volumes, so does his personal journey. He came to Philadelphia from Burkina Faso at the age of 9, speaking no English.
When I continued with high school, I had that mentality to be number one.
He went on to study business at Philadelphia Community College, but happened to take a biology course which spoke to his heart. It was his bio professor at CCP who encouraged Dia to apply to Wistar.
When I started the program, I didn't think that I would be working with COVID.
The coronavirus was a wake-up call for Dia to pursue his dreams. He's now an apprentice at Wistar Institute, helping to study a vaccine developed by Inovia Pharmaceuticals, based in Plymouth Meeting. Nearly 40 vaccines are in the works at different stages, and lab techs like Dia serve a crucial role.
People all over the world will be able to benefit from this DNA vaccine, so that's the goal. My ultimate goal, as always, is to be a philanthropist.
Dia hopes to be an inspiration to others, especially given the fact that minorities are underrepresented in the sciences. He ultimately wants to become a neurosurgeon and entrepreneur. In University City, Ashley Johnson, Channel 6, Action News.
Tonight, Action News is...
All right. Go back. This is the hardest part, right? Going back to your original screen. So Yaya, again, had a great opportunity to be at the Wistar Institute while we were developing a DNA based vaccine for COVID. He has since moved on. He has moved to Texas and obtained a position in the biopharmaceutical industry there. But it's a great example of a successful pre-apprentice and apprentice who was able to really contribute to important biomedical research at the time. So quickly, I just want to mention that we developed a life science innovation course at LaSalle University in 2016, and really it had great outcomes, learning outcomes for students. And so when the opportunity arose to work with Cheyney University, our program with Cheyney kind of combines the laboratory training of our biomedical technician training program with community college students, as well as that life science innovation course with LaSalle University. And again, reminding you that both of those programs serve as pre-apprenticeships where the students can continue on to our biomedical research technician apprenticeship, either upon completion or after they've finished their current degree that they're working on. Why this is important in DEI&A is really reflected in where individuals of different race and ethnicities end up in school. So if we look at Hispanic and African Americans, they are much more likely to end up at open access or less selective schools. So we really think it's important to provide these opportunities for students at community colleges. So as I said, the Wistar Institute sits on the campus of the University of Pennsylvania, but students at Penn and other selective schools have opportunities to get this hands-on training, where students at other schools where there are more Hispanic and African American students often do not. And so when we choose partners, we choose that in mind with wanting to open up the life sciences industry. And it's really important in Philadelphia to do that. We have all heard of Philadelphia's economy referred to as Med and Ed, with colleges and universities in the region, any of which who have biomedical research can serve as employers for graduates of our programs. And then more recently, you may have heard the term Silicon Valley, since Philadelphia is the birthplace of cell and gene therapy with the first FDA approved treatments and more than 30 gene and cell therapy companies, with new laboratory facilities and companies in different locations in Philadelphia. A recent report also identified laboratory technician as the most in demand position in this industry. And the other thing I just wanted to say is it really does take a village. So we get a lot of support, not only within the Wistar Institute, but from those college and university partners, as well as industry partners. And because we deeply believe in the learn and earn model, not only are students not paying tuition to participate in these hands-on training opportunities, but we're paying them. And we think that that's really important for DEI and A efforts. And so we really thank the funding that allows us to do that. So again, I'm happy to take any questions either in the chat or later by email. So thank you for the opportunity.
Of course, thank you, Christy. And I don't think I saw any questions come in during your presentation, but folks feel free to add them to the Q&A section. And as Christy's also sharing some of those links that she went over, maybe she could get some questions as well. And I would just really like to stress to sort of reading between the lines here, how important Wistar's program has been in changing the perspective of the industry in our region in considering hiring folks coming out with an associate's degree rather than those coming out with their four-year bachelor's degree. So this apprenticeship program is providing people with the opportunity, because of the apprenticeships program model, to enter into this space with that associate's degree prior to having pursued that bachelor's degree to the 4 years. So I think that's a really key aspect of seeing how this is really unique. And we're certainly Southeast PA and Philadelphia proud to have the Wistar Institute in our region. And so with that, I will now turn it over to Mr. Joshua Johnson, again, the new Director of Jobs for the Future, or JFF, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Accessibility Center of Excellence. So take it away, Josh.
Thank you very much. And I know that is like a tremendous mouthful. And before I even begin, definitely happy National Apprenticeship Week. Great presentation, Christy. That was some really interesting stuff when you start talking about the genes, and like that was really interesting. I was kind of captivated. So as we shift here to have a conversation about DEIA, I think Wistar really showed that ability and what that looks like, in apprenticeship and building these new programs. So I'm going to share my screen here. Bam. All right, awesome. Now I just have to see where the little button is to go to the next slide. There we go. All right. So as Cassandra said, we are the Registered Apprenticeship Technical Assistants Center of Excellence for Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility. We are working on shortening that name to create something a little bit easier to say. Let me tell you that I've been to a few events and I've done presentations. So I've gotten very good at being able to say it and being able to have a cadence when I say it. So I'll actually be kind of sad when we change it, when we shorten it up a little bit or make it a little easier to say, because I've gotten so used to it. But thank you for having us on today. Joshua Johnson. So not only as our director within the Center for Apprenticeship and Work-Based Learning, I am the director and leading the efforts of the DEIA Center. My experience comes from being the previous state director of apprenticeship in Wisconsin. And in that role, I oversaw the youth apprenticeship, registered apprenticeship, and certified pre-apprenticeship programs. I worked in apprenticeship for 8 years. I was the director for just a little under 2 years. My experience even goes deeper than that, as I was a Wisconsin apprentice. And I served my apprenticeship in construction craft labor here with Liuna Local 113 for 2 years. And I worked for 3 years in Illinois and Milwaukee, Illinois and Chicago, building highways as a journey worker. So when we look at the DEIA Center and why, let me just ask, is this bar on top, is that showing up there, Cassandra?
Nope, we see your full presentation.
All right, perfect. So the DEIA Center, you ask why, right? So we think about it. Apprenticeship is a proven industry career pathway where employers can develop their future workforce and workers can get that critical experience through paid and credentialed programming, right? So we think about this. What is it benefiting? What is apprenticeship, and why is it so fantastic? And what is it all about? And we think about the employers that benefit from it. 92% of employers retain, 92% of apprentices retain their employment after program completion. It's a tremendous number when you think about it after you go through that program, which makes it different than internship, right? An internship, you're trying to come into and earn your way in. In apprenticeship, you're already there, and 92% of the individuals retain their employment after program completion. Well, the other part we think about is the 3.2 million jobs that could be filled by increasing those apprenticeship occupations, right? Those conversations that are being had this week and the week before, and hopefully the week after about apprenticeship, are really focusing on how we can build back better, right? Thinking about building that workforce, getting everybody back. And we're looking at those 3.2 million jobs and how we can create apprenticeship opportunities in those for those underserved communities to get involved. One of the other things I always like to talk about with employers is for every $1 an employer invests in apprenticeship, they receive $1.47 back in ROI. Now, I don't know about any of you all, but if I had friends that every time I gave $1 to, they gave me $1.47 back, we'd be very good friends. And that's the idea that we want to get out to employers is this is not just an investment that is just going to pay you back what you put in. It's going to pay you back 47 cents more than what you put in. And that's just a big value to you as an employer. It will help you to continue to compete not only locally, nationally, but more importantly, globally. And let's think about for the apprentices, $72,000 average starting wage after completion. tremendous money after an apprenticeship program. And then we think about the $100,000 to $240,000 increase in career earnings for individuals who served an apprenticeship and completed their program. So I don't know about anybody else, but just that slide alone shows the value there for the participants in the workforce system as well as the employers in the workforce system. So as we look at here, we take an equity snapshot. Efforts to boost participation and equity are working, but there's still more work to be done. So we want to figure out how we can continue to engage those underserved communities and find out what has worked, because clearly we see some numbers have grown. We want to know what has worked, and that what has worked, what can we do to make it better? And what hasn't worked, what can we say, nah, we're not going to try that anymore. Let's try something different. And as you can see here, this figure that I share of apprenticeship participants from 2010 to 2019. And you can see, even if I just point out Black or African-American apprentices, 12.8% in 2010, up to 17.1% in 2019. Now, as I said, it's nice to see growth, but we're not done yet. We still have some work to do. The next one here, this actually talks about the apprenticeship distribution and the labor force, which this is where we get to see those numbers. We see a little bit, we see the numbers in their truer form as we're talking about apprenticeship and the workforce participation. And although apprenticeships have a proven track record of producing those strong results for both employers and workers, as I said before, we still have a long way to go in advancing that true equity. One of the things here we look at that I'll point out, as you can see, 2010 to 2019, the annual average of apprenticeship share. I'm just going to point out Black and African American again, because it shows the most significant change. 14.9% as apprentices. And then when we look over at the labor force in that same time frame, we see 12.2%. So what we see here is that apprenticeship is becoming a very, what's a really good way to put it? A very good workforce tool to advance equity and to give underserved communities the opportunity to get into these high-paying career pathways, to continue to get career advancement. Once again, I will say we've done some good work, but we're not done yet. And that's where the DEIA Center really is hoping to step in and help create some change. So when we think about it, what are we doing, right? What are we working to build? Well, it's simple. We're working to build the system level, the worker level, and the employer level. Now, briefly here, we're looking to give that voice and representation and leadership of the underserved communities at the system level. We're looking to create that continuous national apprenticeship system that helps advance DEIA efforts. We're at the worker level, right? We want to address the apprenticeship opportunities with those for family sustaining wages and opportunities for professional growth. And we're at the employer level. We have to help support those employers and workforce programs build diverse recruitment pipelines, and also help them recruit and retain those workers that reflect the local diversity and drive that regional prosperity. So that's part of the goals that we have with the DEIA Center, right? 4 goals: expand employer capacity to deliver inclusive RA programs, engage new training providers in RA, and help expand those existing pre-apprenticeship programs, which will help create on-ramps to create those diverse recruitment pipelines. Broker and build partnerships across a wide range of stakeholders. We have to get new stakeholders involved in the game. We have to get those community-based organizations involved in this conversation at a local and national level. And lastly, we have to help drive the growth through the demand and educate and inform that supply side. Help to grow those partnerships through providing high quality technical assistance. And through that technical assistance, we're hoping that it results in commitments and action on DEIA within apprenticeship. So how can the DEIA Center support you? As we think about it, many of the goals that I just spoke about, we'll have 9 partners. I have a slide here coming up that shows the partners. As part of this cooperative agreement with USDOL, we're going to be creating opportunities for group technical assistance sessions, one-on-one coaching, creating some online resources and tools that employers and potential apprentices, the worker, that they can access to see what we can do within apprenticeship and what apprenticeship is all about. Some of the things we'll be looking at, creating those best practices for promoting DEI in apprenticeship, right? Building that diverse talent pipeline. And lastly, right, one of the most important areas is drive policy change to help us diversify apprenticeship across the board. So our partners, as I mentioned, we have 9 partners in this journey. We're really excited about those 9 partners. We bring together 9 diverse groups, and what I mean by diverse is they all have a different focus, but they're all they're all on deck and all in the game to help advance diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility in apprenticeships. You'll see some who've been around apprenticeship for a while, such as CWIT. You'll see some who are getting involved recently in apprenticeships, such as 110. And we're really excited to have them, this various diverse group of apprenticeship partners to get involved in this work. So take our next step, right? So 3 things here: access our resources, learn more about DEIA strategies in apprenticeship and EEO regulations, request technical assistance. My team, led up by one of the former ApprenticeshipPHL folks, Maria Cabilla, fantastic. Thank you for letting us have her. She's working now to get that going with the technical assistance, a form where individuals can request, those employers can request that technical assistance, and we can help give them that technical assistance with our partners. And then lastly, biggest part of this work, we want employers to sign the DEIA pledge that we create. We'll be launching that this week, so please join our event. Shameless plug here for our event on Friday with USDOL Secretary Marty Walsh, and we're having an employer roundtable, and we'll be launching a pledge, and we'll be talking about what that DEIA pledge looks like. But that's what our goal is, to push towards that pledge, to get employers to sign that pledge, to say if they're doing great DEI work, how we could continue to help support them. If they haven't started it, what do they need? And for those who have been constantly involved in DEIA work, we want them to help us continue to get the word out and spread the word about the great things that can happen with DEIA and apprenticeship. Lastly here, our apprenticeship resources. They're out there. Fantastic article, a blog just released by USDOL, Equity Snapshot, where a couple of those slides were taken from. Myself and Senior Advisor Eric Sells now with JFF. We released a blog this week talking about supporting the employers. And then you'll see there's a few other there that are easily accessible and Cassandra could make available after the presentation. Lastly, thank you. Thank you to ApprenticeshipPHL. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and speak. Thank you all for joining and listening. And I'm really looking forward to the great work that we all have to do in DEI apprenticeship. And it's not just us at JFF that have to push it forward. We need your help as well. So please feel free to reach out with any questions, with any comments, and also please feel free to reach out as we launch the DEIA pledge if you are an employer, an apprenticeship employer, and you're interested in signing that pledge. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Josh. I know I, for one, am really excited about this new Center of Excellence and can't wait to see what you guys do moving forward with all of your partners. And I hope you're ready to have a lot of emails coming into your inbox after National Apprenticeship Week. I think you're really creating some buzz. So I hope you, Maria, and the team are ready. So thank you for that overview. Again, I'm really excited. I see Maria is putting a lot of links into the chat for different JFF resources. I'm going to take the liberty to, unless it might already be in there as well, just to put in the main link to JFF's DEIA page, where there's a number of resources that JFF has already created and put out for you all to use. There are some courses in there if you're new to apprenticeship and some of the regulations, just some of the basics you need to know about equal employment opportunity and affirmative action plans. And then there are also blogs and thought pieces about how to deepen your thinking in this space and move beyond just checking some boxes to make the regulations. So I encourage you to check out a lot of the links on there, and I'm sure it's going to continue to be updated as JFF continues their work in this space. And so, as I mentioned in the front, I wanted to take the last few minutes to give a little tour of our updated ApprenticeshipPHL website. So without too much fanfare, unfortunately, I can't roll my tongue, so I can't make a drum roll sound. Here is our updated website. If you visited our website before, you could see that it looks a little familiar. Some pieces remain the same, but some pieces are new. So I wanted to highlight some of those new features for you. So here on our homepage, we've actually featured one of Wistar's apprentices here, and you'll see a couple other references to Wistar throughout the website. Some pieces that are familiar to us, if you visited the site before, we have our Build an Apprenticeship page where employers or educational providers, community organizations can go to read about apprenticeship benefits and some of those statistics that Josh highlighted in his presentation. And then there's also a number of, scrolling way down to the bottom, sorry about that, a number of resources and links that we have to some of our favorite starting points for employers interested in registering or starting an apprenticeship. I'm scrolling very quickly back to the top, sorry about that. Moving on to our Join an Apprenticeship page. This also might look familiar to some of you on the call. This is where we've listed down below a number of industries and apprenticeships here in our area. So taking on biomedical studies, here we have the Wistar Institute. So you can read all about their program, and this is a space where potential apprentices can learn about apprenticeships in our region and how to become involved. If you have a registered pre-apprenticeship or apprenticeship and would like to be added to this list, feel free to reach out to me and I can give you the link to enter in your information, and we'll make sure it's up on the site for all to see. And so to show some of the new pages that we have, one to highlight is our Apprenticeship Navigator page. ApprenticeshipPHL, in partnership with Keystone Development Partnership, launched the Apprenticeship Navigator Registered Apprenticeship back in 2019. Actually, Dr. Sheena McGuire was one of our apprentices in the first cohort, and these folks learned all about how to build apprenticeships. They were apprentices learning to build apprenticeships, very meta. And here you'll see a list of graduated navigators who are at the ready to help you with your apprenticeship program. You can read their bios and you can see ways that they are available to support. So we have a list of some of those apprentices here, and there's Christy. So we're really excited about this page, and we'll continue to add to it. Happy to say Keystone Development Partnership is in their third cohort. And now one thing that's come out of the pandemic is the cohort has been able to be statewide because they've been able to provide some virtual training. So you'll see apprentices from the Southeast PA region added to this page as they graduate their program. We also have a new page highlighting youth apprenticeship. So youth apprenticeship models are those that actually hire students as apprentices while they're still in high school. This is an emerging model. And so we have some information about youth apprenticeship on here if you're interested in learning about that. And then finally, a page I'm really proud of and happy with is our blog page. So we have lots of apprenticeship success stories and highlights and news that are constantly happening in our region. And this blog page allows us to share all of that with you. So we have uploaded a few, but there are more to come. So this blog page will be updated fairly regularly with stories from our partners and stories put out by ApprenticeshipPHL. So absolutely check out our blog page if you would like to hear about news and updates from our region. And so that is the site in a nutshell. Thank you for letting me share it with you. I am going to stop sharing that and reshare my PowerPoint just so you can see the contact information. Now I have to find my Zoom. Everything goes away when you move one little thing. Here we go. So for all of you to stay in touch with ApprenticeshipPHL, feel free to follow us at these social media links. You see I've supersized the font for the new website. So I encourage you to, after this webinar, check out the site, check out some of the new features, and you see my email is listed there as well. So feel free to get in contact with me directly if you have any questions about anything that we've reviewed today or would like to get in touch with the presenters. And thank you for coming. Happy National Apprenticeship Week. You will also all receive a feedback survey later today or tomorrow to provide your input and feedback on today's session, and also to provide your suggestions for future programming. Apprenticeship PHL will continue to host events like this, so we certainly want to hear from you about what you would like to hear about. But thank you so much for your time, everyone. Really happy to see you all. We do have a few minutes, so if there are any final questions in the chat, I see that there are a lot of messages. So if there are any questions or anything that any of our panelists would like to respond or say before we sign off, I'm happy to give that time. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop our recording, and thanks everyone. Feel free to sign off and move on to your next National Apprenticeship Week activity.